Hello everyone and welcome to the Joint Snapping System version 1.60.0. Is for Blender versions 3.3 to 5.2. And in this video, I'm going to talk about the features, improvements, and a new fundamental change that will affect the workflow. The new fundamental change is up here at the top right. We are missing two buttons, and those two buttons are From Active Mesh and Edit Prefab. We remove those two buttons because they're now obsolete with this new system. The new system makes all the prefab editing happen right in the scene, and it works with native Blender. So we no longer need additional modes, and I'll explain a little bit about that. Starting with the joint cage operation and the contextual menu. The contextual menu up here at the top right is technically called scene authoring. If you select an object, it's going to bring up context menu items that are specific to that object, whether that's a normal cube or a prefab object. So I'll go into the starter pack here. I'll just place a cube. So this is a prefab object. If the prefab object is selected, it's going to automatically detect that and show that in the contextual menu up here and give you update prefab and save as new prefab options. So you can still save it to a list. You can still edit the snapping points like you could before. And now you can generate a joint cage with this button here. And there's also tag previews. I'll go over that in a second. But basically, the workflow is you select any object now. You can just import a mesh, select any object, and you'll get this menu up here. And you can generate a joint cage with one button click. And in the last used operation box here at the bottom, you can change these snapping points on the fly. And it uses the boundary box of the object. You can even add padding on the X and Y, Z axis. And you can go up to 10 on each axis. You can even add an offset. I'll zero those values back out. So once you add a joint cage, it becomes a joint snapping object. So if I press J, it automatically detects that and it'll start snapping immediately. You don't even have to save it. But it gives you the option to save. So when you save prefab, a new dialog box opens. It asks you whether you want to save a prefab or update a prefab. But it's going to be automatically set to save prefab. And it's going to ask you what list, what name. So I'll just name this new prefab and save it to the prefabs folder. And it's still contextual based on what pack is open at the time. So I can delete this big cube, and you can see now there's a cube here in the prefabs list. So if I press that, that's exactly how I saved it. So this workflow is a very efficient, it's very fast, and I'm very happy with it. And create prefab will basically just generate a cube for you and automatically generate a joint cage for you. Um, and yeah, so let me go over the tag previews feature. The tag previews feature will look at any tagged joints that you have with tagged tag names, and it'll automatically place those it'll look in the pack for any objects that are compatible, and it'll snap them to the snapping points. So you can see how it lines up with the objects you've already created. And you can confirm that the objects are snapping correctly. And you can even cycle the previews If you have multiple objects that with the same um, tag, you can cycle between the two. So here's torch 1, here's torch 2, and you can toggle this on and off. It doesn't, it's not mapped to the undo operation. So if you press Control Z, it's not gonna, get confused or anything like that. It's working really well. And you press Edit Snapping Points, and yeah, all the scene authoring happens in the scene now. So that's a big fundamental change, but it's a lot faster, and it works with Control Z to undo. So at every step of this joint creation process, you can always press Control Z, and Blender's not going to crash or make any errors or anything like that. So we are having problems with Blender crashing with the other modes. That's ultimately what made me decide to switch to this new system. If you would enter Prefab Edit Mode and then Control Z to try to get out of it, it would crash. So that was a major flaw in the old design. Now the next big feature is that we are no longer utilizing instanced meshes for the joint snapping of objects. So the joint snapping of objects used to be instanced. And what that means is when you change the geometry of one object, it would change the geometry of the other two, or all of them. But that is no longer the case. So now you can create variants. You can easily create variants and update the prefab or save it as a new prefab. And the spawning of objects will be fresh as well. When you spawn a new object, it comes in as a brand new mesh every time, exactly as you saved it. So it's a big feature improvement. You can still utilize instance meshes. If you want to copy the object data, all you have to do is select two meshes, press Control L, and do link object data. And when you do link object data, it's going to act like it did before, where if you change the geometry of one, it's going to change the geometry of the other. And new spawns will still be fresh. So we haven't lost any functionality there, and I'm very happy with this. Performance shouldn't take a hit as long as you're using blocks and cubes and things like that. But with higher poly meshes, you might want to consider using instance, but it's up to you. So for the next feature, um, I want to talk about is called stamp snapping points. And stamp snapping points work by copying the snapping points of a object that has snapping points onto an object that doesn't have snapping points and reversing the direction so that they line up correctly. And I prepared an example here. This example might be good for level design, to build a modular uh, level design environment. So this object here has snapping points, and this object does not. So all you have to do is select the two objects and make sure the object with the snapping points is selected last or highlighted as an active object. And then press Shift J, stamp snapping points. And it's going to highlight all those snapping points. And you can select the ones that you don't want to be copied. So I'll just select all of them with Shift and left click. And I'm only going to leave these two unselected, and then I'll press X, and the snapping objects will only copy those two when I press space or enter. And you can label these as well, but I'll just press space. Now, if I press J on this object, we can now see that this is a joint snapping object. And if we hover over this object, and we hover over a red dot, it's going to snap to the other object perfectly flush like we designed it. So this allows you to create a whole scene, make sure everything lines up correctly, and all you have to do is stamp the snapping points onto the other object. So it's a highly efficient workflow, and I hope you can appreciate it. The next big feature we added are presets, and there's two types of presets. There are pack presets and there are user presets, and basically they work the same, but pack presets are specific to the pack and they're exported with the pack. So if you have a level design pack or a dungeon pack or a castle pack or a spaceship pack, you can make a preset and export it with the pack. And presets are kind of conceptual right now. I don't have any examples to show you, but in the future, you're going to have modular pieces like these that you can easily replace the geometry. The snapping points will remain the same as they were, but you can change the geometry and easily snap things together a lot faster. So you don't have to create a whole list or a whole pack just to get the objects you want. So let me kind of demonstrate that. If you go to a starter pack, for example, and you press new list, you're going to get a new dialog box here. It's going to ask you what you want to name the list, but it's also going to ask you what your preset's going to be. And that preset will be level design or characters, or there's a lot of different categories currently hard coded in the system. And so imagine you have a character preset and you have different arms and legs and torsos, alien arms, male, female. That's it's highly efficient to create your own list and populate that list based on a preset. So, like I said, I don't really have any examples right now. I do have this test preset. I'll load that. I'll just call this my test list. I'll press OK. And you can see my test list here added, and it added a bunch of added a bunch of prefabs to that list automatically. So this user preset is hard coded into the add-on. So you can easily create a conceptual list of basic objects and replace those objects with the snapping points intact, so you don't have to individually author all these snapping points yourself. So it's a really fast workflow. Hopefully I can get the presets implemented, but right now it's more conceptual. So in the future, you can expect presets to work kind of like Unreal Engine, where Unreal Engine has different presets based on a new file that you create. It has a top-down perspective preset, or it has a 2D side scroller perspective. It'll be kind of like that. And to manage the preset, you can click this Manage Pack Presets button here at the bottom, and it opens up a dialog box. And the dialog box basically asks you what presets you want to use. You could also import a pack preset here. But to make a preset, all you have to do is go into the list manager. And the list manager is this little folder icon, and you click that. And basically we have a new button here at the top, which just says Promote to Pack Preset. I'll click that, and you can see it asks you what the preset name will be, and it gives you some categories like level design, character, environment, props, vehicle, or other. And you can set the subtype if you want it to be specifically, dungeon interior or something like that. And then you just press OK, and it's going to save that preset to the pack. And yeah, like I said, there's user-facing presets and pack presets. To edit the user-facing presets, all you have to do is toggle the Manage User Presets on at the bottom in the Developers Tools section. Um, so, but that's going to be mostly for me when I export the add-on to SuperHive Market. I'm planning on making a bunch of presets and exporting it with the add-on, so you can easily create your own lists very quickly. So yeah, that's the presets feature. So with that, that's all the features that I wanted to go over. Um, and I'm very happy with the changes we made. We've gone from version 1.40 to 1.50 to 1.60 very quickly. And we're fastly approaching version 2.0. I don't know what the future holds, but I've envisioned version 2.0 with pack presets intact and functional and snapping together cleanly and good geometry and things of that nature. But that'll take some time to implement. Um, so I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, comment, subscribe, and thanks for watching.